My name is Lorin von Longo-Liebenstein. I come from Austria. And a little bit about me, I started there 6 years ago in a research center for mushrooms where I stayed for a year and then changed to a production facility and was then there at the end head of production, and we produced around 1.5 tons of mushroom substrates a week. So we started with mushroom growing in general. Who of you have already grown mushrooms? Nobody. Hey!
Kuinka moni teistä on kasvattanut sieniä joskus? There is one.
Where? Woo! What do mushrooms need? Mushrooms need fresh air. This is very important, just as humans as well. They need air, they need to breathe. They need the right temperature. Then they need the humidity, the light, and the right food source. As a mushroom grower, it's your responsibility to give the mushrooms exactly what they need. It's like livestock, a living creature. They have to have the right conditions and the right food in order to grow, which is a little bit harder inside and easier outside, of course.
Eli tuossa oli kuvattu se, mitä se sieni tarvitsee kasvaakseen. Se on siinä materiaalissa oli mainittu. Ja Lorin totesi, että ulkotiloissa on niin helpompi sille sienelle järjestää sopivat kasvuolosuhteet, mutta sitten jos sieniä kasvatetaan jossain kasvattamassa sisätiloissa, niin sitten täytyy sen kasvattajan huolehtia, että sieni saa nuo kaikki tarvitsemansa asiat.
Mushroom growing in Finland. When it comes to mushroom growing and mushroom consumption, besides the wild mushrooms, Finland is very far behind other countries in Europe and especially internationally. You can see this by just going to the store, and you can see you only find besides the season where you find the cantarelli and the polides and everything, half-potati and all these things, and there is not much to look at. There is herkkosieni and shiitake, and that's it. But there are hundreds of mushrooms that you can grow. Mushroom growing in Finland has been bigger in the 70s and 80s. There were quite a few companies who started back then. Most of them stopped for various reasons. A lot of them grew oyster mushrooms, and oyster mushrooms produce a lot of spores. And those spores are bad for your lungs if you have it in this massive amount. Because normally you already breathe 1 million spores per day, but this is a few billion a day. So people got sick from this. From growing oyster mushrooms at home. But there are also oyster mushrooms that produce no spores. So this has been quite big in Finland in the past, but most of it shut down. Some companies are still here that started in that time. Some didn't make it. Also some were quite big, but they had the problem that they had advisors from Asia, and the deal with them was if they give them the consulting, they have to buy the substrate from Asia, and that is a little bit expensive. So that was mismanagement as well. Today there are a few major companies that produce most of the mushrooms that you find in the stores, which is the feet. They produce butter mushrooms, and then there is polar shiitake that produce shiitake, as the name says, and you will find those in the store. And this is a high-tech company with robotic arms that will inoculate everything, so really high-tech. There are smaller companies that serving local markets. For example, Helsinki, which we will go deep a little bit later, and other companies. Also small companies that either buy the substrates or make it themselves. And then there is shiitake growing on logs, which is not common in Finland so far at all. Despite the fact that Finland would be perfect for this.
Eli tässä tosiaan Lorin kertoi siitä, että Suomessa sienten kasvatus on vielä aika vähäistä. Et Suomessakin, muissa maissa sitä tehdään paljon enempi. Ja Suomessakin oli enempi sienen kasvattajia ja sienen kasvatusta 70-80-luvulla, mutta eri syistä, muun muassa niiden itiöiden aiheuttamien terveyshaittojen tai sitten muiden tämmöisten kaupallisten syiden takia, niin moni niistä yrityksistä on lopettanut. Ja sen näkee niin kuin kaupassakin, että jos miettii kaupassa mitä siellä on tarjolla, niin siellä on lähinnä herkkusientä ja siitaketta, mitä Suomessakin niin viljellään sillä isommassa mittakaavassa. Ja ne isomman mittakaavan viljelylaitokset on hyvin, niin kuin, sinne on automatisoitu, siellä on robotit kerää. Ja sitten nyt on tullut näitä pienempiä yrityksiä, jotka tuottaa sieniä paikallisille markkinoille. Hän kertoo kohta lisää esimerkiksi tästä helsienestä. Ja sitten yksi vaihtoehto voisi olla tämä siitakesienien kasvattaminen näiden tukkien päällä. Ja sitä Suomessa ei vielä paljon tehdä. Muutama esimerkki on vaikka se täällä ilmastossa olisi hyvinkin mahdollista.
This picture, by the way, is a farm from Helsinki, and this is a shipping container in Oulun.
Tuo kuva oli sieltä Helsingen kasvattamasta. Ja se oli joku vanha merikontti.
Alright, so it really depends if you want to grow mushrooms. There's two factors that you really have to think about. It's money and time. Most important, the time. If you want to have it as a side business, then you have to think, when do I have time to work with my mushrooms? Which means, for example, a farmer, I assume, has least time in the summer, but much more time in winter. And those different kinds of growing mushrooms need a certain amount of time in certain seasons. So if you grow, for example, outdoor, then you have a lot to do in the very early spring, around March, and then harvest for the year, which is less. But if you grow it indoors, you can really pump up the production during winter time, and but the investment costs are much higher for this. And also, what is the structure that you have available? If you have, for example, forest that is needle forest, and where nothing else grows really on the floor, this is perfect for having a mushroom farm there, outdoor, on logs, and also to get the logs from your own forest. And old barns or other structures, a room like this, for example, could also be transferred into a mushroom growing room. But it really depends how this structure is, the condition is. It's really hard to say an estimation, this is what it will cost, this is how much time you need, because it very often depends on how the structure looks. Especially if you have mold in there, then it's getting really hard to transfer this into a state that you can grow mushrooms there.
Tästä tuli se, että siinä vaiheessa, jos lähtee pohtimaan sitä, että itse sivubisneksenä tai näin niin sivuelinkeinona tuottaisi sieniä, niin täytyy pohtia eniten sitä, että kuinka paljon on aikaa ja rahaa käyttää siihen sieniviljelyyn ja ennen kaikkea ja siinä niin kuin ratkaisevaa se, että kun miettii sitä ajankäyttöä, niin se, että miten aikoo sen tehdä. Että jos haluaa kasvattaa tätä sieniä ulkona, niin silloin se eniten työllistävä aika on keväällä, kun ne sienet niin kuin istutetaan, ja sitten syksyllä, kun on se korjuaika. Ja se on maatiloilla ehkä se aika, jolloin muutonkin on paljon hommia. Mutta sitten tavallaan sisätiloissa sitten niitä voi kasvattaa läpi vuoden, jolloin sitten se työllistävin vaihe voi olla esimerkiksi talvella. Ja sitten tuossa toinen vaikuttava asia siihen, mitä pitää pohtia, on se, että minkälaisia tiloja itsellä on käytössä. Eli jos on metsää, semmoista, jossa on neulasmatto siellä alla, jossa ei juuri mitään muuta kasva, niin se voi olla erinomainen paikka sitten kesäkaudella ulkona kasvattaa niitä sieniä. Ja sitten vanhat rakennukset, mitä tiloilla on, käytöstä poistetut navetat, hallit, niin sitten vähän riippuen siitä, että missä kunnossa ne on, niin ne voi hyvinkin soveltua sienien kasvatustiloiksi. Mutta sitten ongelmaksi voi muodostua, jos ne on tosi huonossa kunnossa, että siellä on esimerkiksi hometta, niin se home on niin kuin hankala, koska silloin se häiritsee sitä sienten kasvua, niin tiloja ei saada riittävän puhtaaksi siihen sienen kasvatukseen. Mutta sellaiset kohtuukuntoiset rakennukset on hyvinkin hyödynnettävissä sienien kasvatustiloilla.
Alright, the mushrooms that you can grow indoors, of course there are much more mushrooms that you can grow than this, but these are the most important as these are the most known. On indoor wood you can grow shiitake or oyster mushrooms. Of course you can also grow reishi and others. And on straw you grow oyster mushrooms. And when I say oyster mushrooms, because oyster mushrooms have different kind of species. So for example on the first one, this yellow one, this is also Ostrivinokas. But it's a yellow one, and there is pink one, there is a lot of different oyster mushrooms. And outdoor on your woodlots you can grow shiitake, oyster mushrooms, koivunkanttosieni for example, and diverse native species. There are quite a lot of native species that you can also grow on your logs. Then there is certain advantages indoor compared to outdoor. Indoor, of course, it's nice because you can grow all year round. You have a controlled environment. That means you can grow also mushrooms in the summer that need very high temperature that you would otherwise not be able to grow in Finland at all. And it's easy adjustable to demand. Means if season comes where people buy less mushrooms, you can then get more substrates inside or less substrates, and therefore you can really adjust to the demand. The outdoor is like low maintenance, means you don't have to do so much. For example, you don't have to clean the grow house, which is already a lot of work. You have low investment costs, you need no structure or like a building, and you have very high quality mushrooms. When it comes to, for example, medicinal mushrooms or edible mushrooms that are used as medicinal mushrooms, for example shiitake, then the value of something that is grown on the log outdoor is much higher than the mushrooms that are grown indoor.
Tuossa edellisessä kalvossa oli tosiaan lueteltu vaan niitä sienilajikkeita, mitä voi viljellä. Ne löytyy sitä teidän materiaalista. Ja tässä tosiaan oli näitä etuja, mitä sitten kun pohtii sitä, että tapahtuisiko se kasvatus sisällä vai ulkona. Ja oikeastaan ne näkyy ne asiat, mitä Lorin kertoi, niin tuossa kalvolla, mutta sen voi todeta tuosta sisäkasvatuksesta vielä lisäksi, että tietysti sitten tuolla sisätiloissa voi kasvattaa myös sellaisia sienilajikkeita, jotka Suomen ilmastossa eivät kasva ulkona, eli edes kesällä. Mutta sitten taas ulkokasvatuksesta, niin siinä niin kuin nyt voi arvata, kun ei tarvitse rakennuksia, niin se on siinä mielessä niin kuin kustannuksiltaan ja aloituskustannuksiltaan edullisempaa, ja siinä mielessä vaatii vähän vähempi myös työtä, että ne olosuhteet on siellä ulkona jo olemassa, eikä niitä tarvi sitten niin kuin luoda sitä sieneä varten. Ja sitten tietyt näistä, erityisesti näistä lääkinnällisistä lajikkeista, niin ne on niin kuin arvokkaampia laadultaan, ja sitten se markkina-arvo on korkeampi, kun on niitä ulkona kasvatettuja, esimerkiksi tuo lakkakääpä ja näin.
Of course, there are also disadvantages. Indoor you have much higher investment costs, especially for the machines and everything that needs to control the environment in there are quite expensive if you buy them not second hand, and if you buy just a whole set, this is quite expensive. It has a higher maintenance, means you have to do much more. Like for example, cleaning, this takes a massive amount of time. And you have a very high contamination risk, means if you don't keep it clean, they will get moldy, and if you have mold once, it's really hard to get this. But as long as you stay clean, this is not a problem. But there's a higher risk, which doesn't exist outdoor, because mold has natural enemies outdoors, so you will not have mold that easily than indoor. And you have a lot of spores concentrated in your grow room, which makes it much more again to clean. But as said, there are also mushrooms that don't have spores. And outdoor, the disadvantage, you have no mushrooms in the winter, unless you then put it inside for the winter. It depends on weather conditions, and only mushrooms that grow in this climate are possible. And the fruiting might happen during the wild mushroom season. And why this is an issue is because in Finland, most of the mushrooms that get consumed, of course, are wild mushrooms. I think in 2004 it was something like 2,000 tons that Finland collected and used commercially. This means that in the mushroom season, people will buy less mushrooms from the farmers. And this is something that a lot of companies really feel. And it's also interesting because it's very different to other countries. For example, in the Netherlands, this is the time where they sell the most mushrooms. But they barely have forest.
Eli tuossa oli sitten taas vastavuoroisesti näitä haasteita etujen jälkeen, ja näiden mitä tuossa kalvolla näkyy, niin lisäksi voi todeta, että tuo on just tuo sisäkasvatuksen tuo kontaminaatioriskin, eli just niistä homeista, että sisätiloissa voi lähteä sitten esimerkiksi niin kuin homeet kasvamaan, ja ne häiritsee sitten sitä sienenkasvatusta. Ja sitten tuo itiöiden leviäminen oli juuri se yksi ongelma, joka niissä aikaisemmissa sienifarmeissakin aiheutti sitä terveyshaittaa, eli siellä sisäilmaan voi levitä niin paljon niistä sienistä niitä itiöitä, että se aiheuttaa niille työntekijöille sitten terveyshaittoja, mutta on olemassa myös itiöttömiä sienilajikkeita, jotka sitten soveltuu eikä aiheuta sitä haittaa. Ja sitten tuossa tosiaan ulkokasvatuksesta näette tuossa, mutta tuossa tuo erityisesti mainittuna tuo, että se yksi ongelma on se, että sitten tietysti se sienisato tulee silloin syksyllä, milloin meillä on Suomessa myös luonnonsienet, ja silloin sitten myyjällä saattaa olla hankala saada niitä sieniä kaupaksi, koska suurin osa Suomessa tällä hetkellä käytettävistä sienistä on niitä luonnonsieniä, ja ihmiset ei sitten kaupasta osta sieniä, kun niitä on saatavilla metsästäkin, ja toisaalta ostavat myös niitä metsästä kerättyjä sieniä.
Yes.
Saanko kysyä? Mikä lajike on se itiötön lajike?
Se on Osteridinokkaan, the smallest mushroom is Osteridinokas.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the only strain available at the moment. Sporeless is a high-trained mushroom. It's going to be produced in the Netherlands. And you get I don't know if you know, but at the end you get some mushrooms to grow at home. And this is mostly, I have brought the ones that have no spores.
Eli me saadaan kaikki semmoinen pikku setti täältä matkaa, niin voidaan kokeilla kotona sienen kasvatusta, niin se on sellainen Osteridinokas lajike, jossa ei ole niitä itiöitä.
Growing outdoor on logs. The cultivation on logs is the oldest known technique. It's like dated back to 800 before Christ. At least that it's proven that it's been done. And you inoculate basically your your logs with mushrooms, and you put them in a shady place and keep them moist throughout the year. And after 1 to 2 years, the first mushrooms can be harvested. So about the wood, what kind of wood can you take? So most of the hardwoods that grow in Finland can be used. Depends on what mushroom you grow. Some work better, some work not so good. There is also just a rule of thumb, because it can be that for you, birch, which is normally not so good for most of the mushrooms, works really well for your farm. So you can say like it normally doesn't work really well, but it's never foolproof that it doesn't work so well. And the logs need to be cut in the winter when they contain the most sugars and food for the mycelium, which means that it just grows faster and you have more mushrooms coming out when you harvest it at the right time of the year. Also, when harvesting this wood, you have to be careful not to break the bark, because this keeps the log, the moisture inside. After you have harvested the logs, you put them on the side for 2 weeks. Anti-mushroom compounds in the wood that just disappear over time when you harvest it. The diameter of the log should be between 10 and 30 centimeters, and this makes it sure that everything grows at the same rate. And you cut them in around 1 meter pieces, because this is the easiest for you to carry around, to stack and to harvest at the end.
Joo, eli tuossa edellisessä, kun tosiaan tämä tukki, niin kuin tämä puutukki, niin se on niin kuin vanhin tapa, miten näitä sieniä on kasvatettu jo niin kuin muutama 1000 vuotta sitten, on jo jossakin päin maailmaa tehty sillä, että on käytetty tukkeja sienien kasvialustana. Ja tuossa kalvolla oikeastaan käy ilmi se, mitä Lorin kertoi, että kaikki lehtipuut soveltuu, ja se on sitten vähän sienilajista kiinni, että mitkä sopii parhaiten, ja sitten kuitenkaan siitä nyt ei ole ihan varmaa tietoa, että jossakin paikassa jotkut sienet voi saada hyvänkin sadon vaikka koivusta, vaikka jossakin muualla ei sitten välttämättä tai jollakin tietyllä lajilla, että se on vähän sillä täytyy kokeilla. Ja sitten mitähän tuossa, oikeastaan se asia tulee ilmi tuosta kalvolta, että näette, että hän kertoi sen, että miten se puu pitää kaataa talvikaudella, jotta siellä on sille sienelle kaikista eniten sitä ravintoa sitten saatavilla ja sato saadaan kaikkein nopeimmin.
Mä voisin kertoa tälle herralle vielä tässä, joka kysyy siitä, että voiko sille odottaa, että luonto tekee sen puolesta, niin ennen kuin tämä puhdasviljelmätekniikka kehitettiin 100 vuotta sitten, niin japanilaiset laittoi niitä tukkeja vaan niin kuin sinne lähelle kun sitten se siitäkin laski ne itiöt, niin se infektoi ne puut. Että se oli niin kuin keksittiin tämä puhasviljelmä.
There are some advantages to it. They're very easy to handle. It's not a hard procedure. When somebody guides you or you look a little bit into it, it's really easy to learn. You don't need much equipment. Most of farmers would have most of the equipment at home, like a chainsaw or a tractor. There's not much that is needed. And it needs very little attention during the summer. And the mushrooms that grow, as said before, on the logs have much higher quality. Therefore it has a higher price.
Ja tuosta toteamuksena tätä, mikä on tuollaisen tukkikasvatuksen näitä hyötyjä, niin yksi maininta tuo, että ei juuri tarvitse niinku semmoisia alkuinvestointeja, että ainakin jos maatiloja ajattelee, niin lähes jokaiselta maatilalta löytyy ne tarvittavat välineet sen sienten kasvatuksen aloittamiseen, että löytyy moottorisaha ja traktori tai joku, millä siirrellä niitä tukkeja, että siinä ei tarvitse mitään erikoisvarusteita. Ja se on teknisesti aika helppo oppia, että joku kun neuvoo, että miten se tehdään, niin siinä ei ole kauheasti semmoista erikoista tekniikkaa tai osaamista.
You can sell them at farmers markets, you can sell them online, restaurants, supermarkets, or dried, for example. When we're talking about dried mushrooms, it's really interesting because I've been talking, especially for this lecture, a lot to Finnish mushroom farmers. And this one guy who has this 1,000 logs in southern Finland, and he's planning to dry them, sun dry them, his shiitake. Reason is that shiitake naturally already has the highest vitamin D in all of the natural occurrences from plants and mushrooms. But if you dry them in sunlight or with UV light, the vitamin D compounds, they get raised up to 200%. So it's really high in vitamin D, which makes the superfood that it's really easy sellable, especially on markets like Finland. Everything that is in the north and lacks vitamin D, basically. You can also sell your fully colonized logs for people to grow at home. And they can of course be sold at nursery gardens and other markets. And this looks then like this. So you sell the logs and people put them up either on their balcony in these pots. It's lakagappa growing here. Or in their garden to implement while working with the garden. This, by the way, gives the most profit for you, because you don't have to harvest at all. And this is what a lot of people do in America. They just produce it to resell it. Also a few companies in Europe doing this, just to resell the logs, so other people can fruit it. And of course, mushroom growing gets more and more popular every year, also in Finland. As I said, Finland is a little bit behind with it, but also here, I've seen it this year. Every time there's mushroom exhibitions, every year it gets more and more people coming. And therefore you can do workshops. Workshops are really good if you're making your logs. Also in the south, there are two farmers who are making these mushroom logs, now started since 2 years. And what they do in fall, they make mushroom workshops in spring. So they let people pay to come by to inoculate the logs, which gives them free workers basically. The people get then a log home. And so this is already an income before you even finished with inoculating your logs. You already have made some income, and you have future possible customers that will return to you.
Tässä oli vähän tämmöistä niinku bisnesideaa. Nuo perusmyyntikanavat on tuossa ylhäällä. Tuosta kuivauksesta Lorin sanoi, että siinä on vielä tämä aurinkokuivausvaihtoehto, joka tuo sille lisäarvoa sille sienelle, koska kun se kuivataan auringossa, niin se imee itsensä ihan niin kuin äsken puhuttiin sitä pakurista, niin runsaasti D-vitamiinia, jonka jälkeen se on sitten niin korkea se D-vitamiiniarvo, että sillä sienellä on myös korkeampi myyntiarvo. Ja sitten toi on hän kertoo, että esimerkiksi Amerikassa on tosi yleistä tuo, että puutarhamyymälöissä ja myös niin kuin maanviljelijät tuottaa noita tuommoisia tuossa kuvassa näkyviä sienikasvualustoja, jonka sitten kuka tahansa voi ostaa omalle parvekkeelle tai puutarhaan, johon on tuohon tukkiin istutettu ne sienet valmiiksi, ja sitten tuottajan ei itse tarvitse sitten sitä satoa korjata, vaan se, joka on ostanut sen tukin, niin sitten kotona korjaa sen sadon. Ja Etelä-Suomessa muutama yrittäjä jo järjestää tai maatila järjestää jo tämmöisiä sienityöpajoja. Eli he niin siellä tekee ne tukit valmiiksi ja sitten siellä on nuo ympit ja ihmiset tulee sinne maksua vastaan sinne työpajaan, istuttaa itse ne sienensä sinne tukkiin ja saa sitten sen tukin mukaan. Ja tämä on se tulo, minkä sitten tämä yrittäjä saa siitä niin järjestämällä näitä työpajoja.
So working time and costs. I have a video prepared but on this computer, so maybe at the end I can switch it and show you how it looks to inoculate such a log. Because if you go into professional production of such logs, you don't take this topic. You go with sawdust. And this is sawdust inoculated, and you have this little stick. I will show you the video at the end. And so you need very little time for one log. The tools are around 500 euros, and but they stay with you. And you can also work together with other farmers to use the same tools because you only need them once a year. This is around 500 euros. The mushroom spawn is around €1.50 per log, only a little bit less. And the wood logs are a cost if you don't harvest themselves. I never heard of somebody paying for those wood logs though, because those are the wood logs that you normally harvest to thin out the forest. Normally people pay for it, so they're really happy if you go there. Also the people I have spoken to in the south, they just go to their neighbors and offer that they thin out their forest. They're super happy and they get all the wood for free. And the time that you need is 6 minutes per log. As I said, 2 hours a week maintenance in the summer, which means you keep the logs moist and you write down what you do. This is very important that you know what is happening, so you measure how much moisture there is in the log. And this takes around 2 hours per week. It's really not much. Moisturing means you just plug in water there and then it just sprinkles it. You do this around 1 time a week. And if you start harvesting, you have 3 to 4 hours per week for harvesting. So there is not much time and money investment needed for this.
Tuossa tosiaan noista investoinneista, niin tukkipuille ei ole laitettu hintaa, koska Lorin kertoo, että Suomessa, ketkä tätä tekee, niin hän ei ole kuullut, että kukaan koskaan olisi maksanut niistä puista. Että ne on joko omasta metsästä tai sitten esimerkiksi naapurin on ollut tyytyväinen, että sitä on ollut harvennustarvetta, niin sit sieltä on saatu ilmaiseksi ne puut, kun on tehty se työ. Että ei tarvinnut kenenkään tätä tekevän, niin ostaa niitä.
Mushroom prices at the moment in Finland, it was really hard to find out. The prices vary a lot during the season, and it varies a lot who you sell it to. But I found out that prices for shiitake vary between 12 to 30 euros. I found this one farmer in southern Finland who grows them in logs. He sells it to end consumers for 40 euros a kilo, which is amazingly much. The 12 euros is it's a small farmer in southern Finland and he produces it indoor. So this is 12 euros. But if you grow outdoor, you will more likely look something at between 20 and 30 euros, if not more. And of course, if you process the mushrooms, the prices get different as well. Prices for oyster mushrooms vary also a lot between 10 and 20 euros, which is also internationally you're around 8 euros a kilo, but if you're a small producer, to this we will come later, if you have a good story why your mushrooms are costing more than others, and it has a good reason for it, then you can ask, of course, for more.
Lori totesi, että oli erittäin vaikea löytää tietoa siitä, että minkä verran sienet Suomessa maksaa, koska ne vaihteli tosi paljon. Ja tuota vaihteluväliä sitten kertoi, että tuo, missä siitakesienen kilohinta on ollut 30 euroa, niin se on tosiaan tuo ulkona kasvatettu on niin arvokkaampaa, kun sitten taas sisällä kasvatetusta on löytynyt halvempia hintoja. Ja sitten kaikkien sienten osalta, jos sitä jatkojalostaa, kuivaa tai tekee jotakin muuta, niin sitten se tietysti myytävästä tuotteesta saa paremman hinnan.
Other things that you might consider when growing on logs, it's really good to have a variety of mushrooms, especially if you sell at farmers market. If you have people coming back to you and buying all the time, and a good variety of mushrooms on your logs, it's really good to get new customers to be interested.
Other ways to grow outdoors. You can grow it on straw. which means you inoculate a hay bale. And they should not be too big, not really big ones, but this size of hay bales. You can inoculate and you just put them outside. And you can treat them because normally you have to sterilize your substrate, but you can also treat them in other ways, like for example with natural fermentation or with wood ash, which I will show you soon. And they can be grown in bales or in crates. This is something if you want to have really as a side business and really want to just get little few extra euros, this is the cheapest and easiest way really to do it. And you can also grow it on wood stumps. Means if you harvest your wood and there's a stump on the floor, you can inoculate those. Those makes, if you have a big forest, this makes only sense, my opinion, if you grow mushrooms that are very slow growing, like for example Lagergappe or turkey tail. Because otherwise you have to run through 2 hectares of forest every day to harvest, and that gets really long time and really expensive. So this only makes sense if it's close by, or if you grow mushrooms that have a high value and you only have to harvest once a year. But they give a lot of mushrooms for a long time, and it's a good way to transform something that would be trash in your forest into a valuable product. And I made some logs, and I just got a message half an hour ago from a friend of mine where I inoculated a lot of logs, and he has already oyster mushrooms growing from a log big like this. And this log will continue to produce mushrooms for the next 6, 7, 8 years. It's a long time. They give a lot of mushrooms. And you can also grow them in mushroom beds, which means it's just like a garden bed, but with wood chips where the mycelium grows and your mushrooms grow out of this. A friend of mine new friend of mine that I met this year, he lives in Tampere, and he wanted to just grow a little bit mushrooms as a side income because he's a farmer. He has an organic farm, he has chickens there, and he wanted to grow some mushrooms. And first he wanted to steam them, but after talking to me, we did this test to grow it on with natural fermentation. So what he did, he chopped up the straw and gave it in this container where it stays for 1 week to 10 days. It starts to smell really bad, like underneath your armpits, because there's a lot of bacteria. What happens is that all the airborne bacteria inside the straw will die, or other infections, they will die in the water, and when you then drain it, all the bacteria from the water will die, and you have very clean straw, and the mushrooms can grow on it nicely. So they need as little competitors as possible. And then he just put them in these crates that he got for free from the next farmer for his potatoes to drain the water. And then he put the mushroom, the ympi, inside. So he just put straw, ympi like lasagna. And then he put it in this tent. In this tent that he built. First he didn't have this, but then it dried off a lot. He had to water them a lot. But with this system that he just built, he reduced the work to half an hour to 1 hour a week. And after 4 weeks, mushrooms started popping up. And this he did with very low tech. This is all things that he just found around from neighbors and got for free. The only thing that he really paid for is the mushroom spawn. And this as well works with wood ash, so that you just add wood ash to your water, which raises the pH level and kills off bacteria as well. But the mushroom can deal with it, and then the mushroom can grow very nicely on it. Means you have to have no autoclave, nothing, only the grain. This for sure is the easiest method and gives a very nice variety of mushrooms that you can grow there, especially when you come to oyster mushrooms. So he has been trying 5 different oyster mushrooms for me that I collected all over Finland and other parts of the world, and was very good success. So he had a lot of mushrooms growing there. And next year he will go a little bigger and will try out more. What is one risk that you have when you grow something like this outdoors, that you have these little worms that you also find in the wild mushrooms. You will never find them in shiitake, they don't like it, but in oyster mushrooms it might happen, and it might vary a lot. He had nothing, and in my garden I just put a little bit there, just to try it out, how it's here. And I had quite a lot in the spring and nothing in the fall, so it's very dependent where you live, what's the surrounding, if you live close to the forest, or if you live in the middle of the field, or so there's a lot of various impacts that you can have.
on this.
Tässä kuvassa on kaikkein yksinkertaisia ja helpoin tapa kasvattaa sieniä on tuossa oljen päällä. Eli ne oljet liotetaan ensin tuolla vedessä, oliko se pari viikkoa, että siitä lähtee sitten kaikki muut niin kuin luontaiset home- ja sieni-itiöt pois ja se on niin kuin puhdas kasvualusta tuolle sienelle, mitä halutaan kasvattaa. Sitten ne on vaan laitettu tuollaisiin laatikoihin, jotka saatiin naapurista vanhoja perunalaatikoita, niin että liika vesi valuu pois. Ja sitten tämä kasvattaja on tehnyt tuon muoviin tuommoisen teltan, missä nuo kasvulaatikot on, koska se helpotti sitä huoltotöitä. Ensin piti kastella tosi paljon, mutta nyt kun ne on tuolla muovin sisällä, niin se kosteus säilyy siellä, niin se työmäärä väheni olennaisesti. Ja tuossa on noita osterivinokkaita, mitä sitten 3-4 viikon päästä alkoi sitten tuolta kasvaamaan. Tuo alusta on tehty sillä tavalla, että tuo olkipatja, minkä päällä se on, että siinä on aina sitä olkea, sitten sitä sieniympiä, olkea, sieniympiä niin kuin kerroksittain ja sitten se sieni kasvaa. Ja sitten Lorin totesi, että ulkona kasvatetuissa näissä osterivinokkaissa vähän paikasta riippuen, jos siinä on metsää lähellä ja vähän vuoden ajasta tai kesän vaiheesta riippuen, niin niihin voi tulla matoja, siis niitä samoja mitä on metsänkin sienissä, mutta siitakkeeseen ei ne madot mene, ne ei tykkää siitä siitakkeesta.
One thing I forgot to mention about the harvest, you normally go for biological efficiency when you grow something. It means if you have 1 kilogram of straw, dry straw, you make a substrate out of it. If you get 1 kilogram of mushrooms, you are at an efficiency rate of 100%. And with oyster mushrooms, perfect conditions, this can go up to 200%. He is around in 130 to 150, depending on what mushroom and how we treated the straw. So for every kilogram that he put inside of straw, dry straw, he got 1.3 kilograms of mushrooms back, fresh ones. So it's kind of easy to do the calculation how much mushrooms you should have during the season. And he also did it because he has chickens and he feeds the mycelium afterwards to the chickens. And this has been proven in various studies for animals to have very good health benefits. And you can also feed, for example, there's also companies that produce from this old substrates from shiitake, from wood, they turn it into cattle feed. And he also uses it in his garden to use it as a mulch, which makes really good compost at the end, or use it as a fertilizer. So he uses everything, that all the materials, also he got all the straw, his leftovers from his production, so everything comes from his farm and goes back to the farm. It's a nice circle that we have there. Alright, growing indoor. Growing indoor can be either done by creating a controlled environment by installing a grow tent, or you transfer a room into a grow room. Means if you have this room, either you make it in a way you transfer it to a mushroom grow room, or you can do what Christian will do next year. What his plan is, you have this big room and to put a tent, a grow tent inside. So a room inside a room, which can be much cheaper and much less work. And stable oxygen, temperature and humidity are key. These are really important, especially oxygen. And if you have, for example, lacquer cap, it will never open its cap if it's too little oxygen. And you can also see this in the forest. It's close to the floor. There is more CO2 than anywhere else. So everything that grows in moss, the canterelli you find in moss are very long because there is little oxygen. And they grow so long longer until the oxygen is right, and then they open the cap. So if you don't have enough oxygen, you have these long stems and very tiny mushrooms. They don't look nice. And temperature, and of course humidity. So humidity is also a very big issue if you have these old rooms that you want to transfer. If they cannot take 99% humidity, then you have a problem there. The investment needed varies with factors such as insulation, condition and size. I've been asking different kind of companies for their prices and how much they have invested. I found the cheapest one that I found for a whole setup was something around, there was a farm in Austria they built, and it has investment cost of I think 11,000 euros, and they harvest 150 kilograms of shiitake a month with this. So around 8,000 to 10,000 euros, these are the numbers that I got for the companies, is needed for the equipment, means humidifier, air conditioning and everything. But they can vary a lot, and there's a lot you can do by yourself if you know how to work with these kind of things. And the mushrooms substrates, they can either be bought, like for example shiitake, there's companies in Finland who sell these shiitake blocks. So you really just buy them and put them inside your farm and they start to fruit. Or you make it yourself. Means, for example, oyster mushrooms is something that you can do yourself, and waste products from a farm, for example, like straw, bone cups and others. 15 square meter room can produce 100 kilos of mushrooms a month. This is very carefully said, 100 kilos, because it should be more, but 100 kilos is what you have to get from these. So numbers from other companies who sell these farms, they gave me more like 100 kilo per 10 square meter, but I thought just this room, done with it. And the amount of work hours needed really depends on the size. The setup of the grow room, if it's easy to clean, you save hours of time per year, like hundreds of hours seriously. And if the substrate are produced by yourself or by somebody else, this makes a massive difference. Also, you will get double as fast over time. It's really, you get very used to it, working with the mushrooms.
Tuossa on tosiaan kerrottu noita perusperiaatteita, mitä pitää ottaa huomioon, kun kasvatetaan näitä sieniä sisätiloissa. Eli siellä sisätiloissa pitää niin kuin saada aikaiseksi sinne sienelle sopiva happitilanne, lämpötila, kosteus. Jos ne ei onnistu, sienet ei kasva. Ja niin kuin tuossa todetaan, niin se voi tulla edullisemmaksi niin tietenkin se investoinnin hinta, niin se vaihtelee ihan hirveästi siitä, että minne tehdään ja minkälainen tila niille sienille rakennetaan, mutta että voi olla jossakin vanhassa rakennuksessa kohtuukustannuksilla, ja varsinkin jos itse pystyy jotakin rakentamaan, niin tehdä niin kuin huoneen sisälle, eli vanhaan rakennukseen sinne sisälle tehdä se sienien kasvatushuone. Ja tuosta Lorin totesi, että tuo on niin kuin lähinnä varovainen arvio tuo, että 15 neliön kokoisessa huoneessa voidaan tuottaa tuo 100 kiloa sieniä kuukaudessa. Se on niin kuin minimi, että hän ajattelisi, että se voisi olla jopa enemmän. Ja sitten se, että mitä muita kustannuksia tuossa sisätiloissa kasvatuksessa on ja tarvittavien työtuntien määrä, niin sekin riippuu sitten siitä, että miten sen järjestää. Eli noita kasvualustoja voi ostaa valmiina. Esimerkiksi siitakkeita voi ostaa niin kuin semmoisen pussukan, jossa ne siitakkeet on sinne istutettuna valmiina ja ne sitten kasvaa. Eli se tulee tietysti kustannuksia, mutta sitten ei ole niin paljon työtä. Mutta sitten tuon osterivinokkaan kasvatusalustoissa voi käyttää sitten hyödyksi esimerkiksi jotain maatilalla syntyviä muita sivutuotteita, niin kuin esimerkiksi sitä olkea. Ja sitten kun tekee ne kasvualustat itse, niin se tulee halvemmaksi, mutta menee enemmän aikaa.
These are different pictures of different ways to grow mushrooms. So on this one side, this is the shiitake block that you would buy, for example, for a producer. It could also look different, for example, like a little sausage. So those, you just buy them, you unpack them and you put them in your farm, you make the right conditions and it starts to grow. The other thing is this one. It's called column culture. These are the mushrooms. Super nice to harvest because you can just cut it down like this. This is something you can do yourself. If you want to grow something like this is a farm in California that I visited once. And they do it the same like with wood ash, but they use hydrated lime to raise the pH level. And in this small room, they produce around 400 kilos of mushrooms every month. So this is a very productive way. And they just sell also their mushrooms on nearby farmers market and they dry it. And this is a very nice way. There are very different ways to grow mushrooms indoor and it can look very different. But it really depends on how your setup looks, what is the most usable for yourself.
Noissa kuvissa on tuossa vasemmanpuoleisessa on just niitä siitakesieniä ja tuo on semmoinen kasvualusta, jonka voi ostaa valmiina. Se voi olla tuon mallinen, mutta niitä on monen muunkin mallisia, semmoisia makkaran muotoisia kötkylöitä, mutta sitä ei tarvitse tehdä itse. Ja sitten tuossa oikealla puolella on sitten taas sellainen kasvualustasysteemi, jossa sitten sen voi tehdä itse tuon sisällön tonne ja sitten tuolla kun on sienet on, niin on helppoa tuosta korjata, kun ne vaan leikataan tuosta sivusta.
Example, Helsieni. Helsieni is a company located in Helsinki. They're really at the center. So if you go south to the city. Let's just walk from the city. There is this harbor, and there they have their, I don't know if you know Löyly, this is a restaurant. There on the other side, they have the mushroom farm. And they build it themselves from 2 shipping containers. Those shipping containers are cooling containers, so they're nicely isolated. And they transferred it into mushroom growing farm. Mostly by themselves, mostly with second-hand things they just found either in the trash or really like they looked for it and transferred the whole system so they can grow mushrooms. They produce around 200 kilos at the moment of oyster mushrooms per month. And the substrates are produced by them. This requires around 15 square meter breeding room. So if you grow the mushrooms, this boxes like this, exactly from these boxes they grow. And to let the mycelium grow in there, it needs a higher temperature and less humidity than for fruit in them. So they have 2 containers. One is for breeding and production, and the other one is for fruiting. And they grow on coffee grounds. So what is left over from your coffee in the morning, they take it, they mix it also with husks, with the hulls of wheat that they get from Tässä, which is also a waste product that they normally burn, and they grow mushrooms from this. And they get their coffee ground really from the other side of the street, from this restaurant called Löyly, and there they get their substrate. So it's all waste. Also the buckets that they have are recycled. And there's one person who works on the farm all the time, with 30 hours a week, including 50 hours of substrate production. And they use these sporeless mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, which is really nice because they don't have to do any cleaning because of spores. And this is a massive amount of spores. I'm talking that if you have a big fan in there, and I've seen it in farms that I worked on, after 3 days this is a spore layer thick like this. This is really massive amount of spores. And what they have is this non-spore producing, and it makes it much easier for them. Also the shelf life means how long the mushrooms survive in the shelf and still look good is much longer than if they would have spores. Also, but what they can do, of course, is that they can transfer their mushroom growing room into wherever they want to grow. From shiitake to maitake, they have all the possibilities because they already have the system and they just have to change the temperatures. And you can go there on their website and there's a lot of information, they're very open source, they're very open about their products, what they get for money and everything, so you can really be free to ask them. They get around 20 euros a kilo for their oyster mushrooms. And the story is this because they have a story, which is really important. If you're a small grower, you have to have a good story. And their story is they sell to very high-end quality restaurants that have Michelin stars. 20% of the restaurants in Finland that have a Michelin star buy mushrooms from them. And what they sell is that they produce only waste. They have no trash going out. Everything that they produce in trash there can be used as fertilizers, and it's really for everybody to just pick up. So there is no waste. They only take waste to make food. And this circular economy, this story that they try to sell, also makes it that their mushrooms are twice as expensive, but still they are able to sell it. It's really important if you're a small grower that you have a good story. And there's another example, gifts from Metsä. This is a friend of mine who's called Eric. Eric is originally from Indiana, and he's been starting growing shiitake in Connecticut. And
maybe talk about this in Finnish before.
Joo, ei mitään, eikö mä haluanko. Tässä oli tästä Helsinki-esimerkistä, eli heillä on Helsingissä tämmöistä vanhasta kylmäkuljetuskontista tehty tuo Sienten kasvatustila, jossa kasvattavat näitä osterivinokkaita ja nimenomaan sitä itiötöntä, eli se helpottaa sitä työtä, koska siellä ei sitten tarvitse siivota eikä tule niitä terveyshaittoja. Ja heidän yrityksen ideologia on se, että kaikki mitä he ottaa sinne yrityksen raaka-aineeksi, esimerkiksi kasvualustana on kahvinporot viereisestä ravintolasta, kasvuastioina on nuo kierrätettävät tuommoiset muoviboksit, niin he eivät käytä mitään uusia raaka-aineita, vaan hyödyntävät toisten jätteitä raaka-aineena ja sitten pystyvät siitä kasvattamaan niitä sieniä, ja sitten se mitä jää jäljelle, ne käytetyt kasvualustat, niin ne pystytään taas jälleen käyttämään ravinteena jossakin muualla. Niin heillä on tämmöinen hyvä tarina tässä tämän tuotannon takana. Ja tällä hetkellä he myy tuon 200 kiloa kuukaudessa hyvään hintaan, 20 € kilo muihin Helsingin hienoihin fine dining ravintoloihin. Ja se, miksi he saa sen sienen sinne niin hyvään hintaan myytyä, niin perustuu juuri siihen, että siinä takana on tämmöinen business-imago ja hyvä tarina siitä, että he kierrättää kaiken. Eli jos tämmöiseksi pientuottajaksi miettii, niin kannattaa keksiä sille omalle tekemiselle myös tämmöinen myyvä idea ja ideologia sinne taustalle, niin todennäköisesti silloin se ostajakin arvostaa sitä ja valmis maksamaan tuotteesta enemmän.
And what else to say is that their highest cost at the moment is rent. So to rent the space where they have their office, because they also sell other things related to mushrooms, and where they have the containers. This is what their highest cost is at the moment.
Vuokra on kallein kustannus, mitä taas joutuvat maksamaan.
There's example gifts from Mitä. This is a guy, as I said, from the States, and he just started to grow mushrooms in Finland. He inoculated 1,000 logs in this year. Within 1.5 weeks he had this done. He really pushed through. And he got the logs from, as I said, from forest owners that were just close by, and they were super happy and supported him with everything that he needed. And he supports them with giving them logs to grow mushrooms on at the end. He uses now 2 hours a week for maintenance and data collection. He writes everything down, like everything, that all the data that is available. He checks the moisture content of the logs, how much they have lost, so he can calculate how much water he has to give them to optimize the system. And the expected harvest is an average of 400 grams of shiitake per log. You can calculate how much it is in 1,000 logs, which is 400 kilograms of shiitake per year. And he grows mainly different varieties of shiitake, and when I mean different varieties, I mean different strains. And a strain is, as we humans are individuals, and everybody's different, it's the same for mushrooms. So some strains of shiitake, some individuals might fruit earlier in the year because they like it colder, the other ones grow later. There's one shiitake variety that makes this really huge shiitake that are really nice to prepare in kitchens, and other ones that get really small. So every shiitake is different. So he grows different kinds to look what works best here. But he also grows reishi, turkey tail, oyster mushrooms. He grows lion's mane. He grows very different mushrooms, also to test them out. And he has started now to force fruit them, because with shiitake what you have to do is like give them a cold shock by dipping them into water, or like soaking them in water overnight, and he will have the first mushrooms growing out there. And because he took so good care, because of talking to another log farmer, and the other log farmer has not done so much with the shiitake logs during the year, not so much maintenance, not so control, and the mushrooms from this guy, they grow double as fast. They grow as fast as in time when he was in Kentucky, so within this whole summer they were fully colonized. The next year all of them will start to fruit, and some he will fruit already this year. And also this very friendly fellow, so you can really just check out his website and contact him. He's also very open about it.
Eli tämä on toinen yritysesimerkki täältä Suomesta. Tämä on amerikkalainen henkilö tai mies, joka on muuttanut Suomeen ja päättänyt aloittaa täällä tämmöisen sienifarmin sivubisneksenä. Hän tekee sitä ja tilallansa. Ja tänä kesänä on aloittanut sillä, että on tehnyt tuon 1000 ja tuossa näkyy noita työmääriä, tuntimääriä, kuinka paljon hän on loppujen viimeksi ei kovin paljon käyttänyt aikaa tähän tuotannon aloittamiseen, mutta on tosi tarkkaan tehnyt sitä työtä. Lorin kertoo, että jotkut muut, jotka kasvattaa ulkotiloissa siitaketta, niin ei niin tarkkaan ole seurannut noita kosteuksia ja muita. Ja koska hän on tehnyt tämän tällainen huolellisesti, niin on erittäin hyvin onnistunut. Ja next year they will fruit some of them already this year.
Yes.
Joo. Eli jo ensi vuonna sitten on odotettavissa se pääsato alkaa kasvamaan ja sitten siitä eteenpäin, mutta osa tuottaa satoa jo tänä vuonna. Ja hänellä on siitakkeen lisäksi monta muutakin eri sienilajiketta, ja sitten noista siitakkeistakin hän testailee sillä, että sama sieni, mutta niin kuin eri yksilö, niin voi olla hyvin erilainen. Toinen tykkää kylmemmästä ilmasta, toinen tekee isomman sienen, niin hänellä on niin kuin montaa eri sientä siellä sitä siitaketta, ja hän kokeilee, että mikä niistä soveltuu tähän ilmastoon parhaiten.
one other thing about this guy, talked about him also about markets. And he has so many pre-orders already that basically next year is already sold out. Some people already paid for it beforehand. He says what he has seen, because there are not many people doing this, what he has seen is the market is really there, especially for his dry shiitake. And he would love to also have other companies. He also gives consulting for these things, but he's really looking for also other people who grow this, because there is so much questions about these things. Like the demand is very high for this, that he's really looking forward to have other people growing this as well and working together.
Elikkä hän on myynyt suurimman osa ensi vuoden sadosta jo ennakkoon, eli markkinat on olemassa, eli kiinnostuneita ostajia löytyy, ja hän on tällä hetkellä hyvinkin kiinnostunut löytämään yhteistyökumppaneita, jotka vois yhdessä yhteistyössä hänen kanssaan niin kuin kehittää tätä sienten kasvatusta tällä tavalla, koska sitä ei vielä Suomessa tässä mittakaavassa käytännössä juuri tehdä.
So what helps to sell your mushrooms, or what helps you as a mushroom farmer? Diversity is really important. That you have, either you have different mushrooms that you grow, just like Eric does, that 95% of his logs, 950 or 900 to 950 are shiitake. This is very straight, this is his main core business. But then he has also some pakurikäävän and other mushrooms that he can offer, just to open markets and to try it out. And because he goes then to Reco with a friend, so they always have mushrooms. And if you have different mushrooms than in there, you get people back to your business and check out what you have now. So if you can keep it interesting for customers, this is really important. Also, if you have a creative approach to what to do with your mushrooms and how to sell them, you have a lot easier time to actually sell those stocks. For example, with this growing and gardens that you sell it to gardeners or in garden stores and garden fairs, whatever you want. But as long as you really be creative and try out new things to a certain degree, you will have a much easier time, and your business will grow much faster over time. You will learn a lot more. And working together, this is something that is crucial. Especially I learned this in the US, less here in Europe, because people tend not to work so much together as mushroom farmers. They are more reserved and will not share too much knowledge. But when I went to America, this goes exactly the other way. They work so much together. And so you learn a lot more. This year I learned so much from people in Finland who just wanted to grow some mushrooms, and I gave them materials and the knowledge and everything for free, and I said, I want to have all the data you collect. I told them you have to write down how much mushrooms you harvest, how much time you need, all the data, and I learned so much from this, just what they do. And you can supply bigger customers. So for example, when Eric needs 300 kilos of mushrooms and we can only produce 100 for these customers, it really helps to work together, so you can also supply bigger companies that need more, for example, supermarkets. You have a very big variety. Means, for example, I have my own mushroom company called Mushroom Agent, and when I get requests about some things, I just forward them. I'd rather do a good job with one thing than doing a crappy job and getting money for it. So everything I'm not good at, I forward to the people that are good at, and it goes the other way around. So it starts to get this little mycelium network of mushroom companies that work together really well, and it's very vital and very friendly environment to be in. Which also means if a customer approaches, the customer doesn't get lost, so to say. It gets forwarded to another company and goes the other way around, so we profit a lot from each other. And you have a higher visibility. It's really bad if nobody else does your business, because then nobody else is making a commercial for your product. If I tell you about mushrooms, it's good for every company in Finland that works with mushrooms. So competitors are not only bad, but also very good for you, especially if you work together. And if you have a story, like I said before, if you have a story, it's even easier to sell your mushrooms. And this is, for example, growing organically, growing from things that don't come from far away, in times where taking care of the planet and your environment gets more important, and people take more care about it. If you can tell people that all your resources that you need for your product comes within 1 kilometer, that has a really high impact on customers. Not in every customer, but customers that care about this will buy your product much more likely. This is what Helsieni does, this is what Eric does, this is what some farmers do. They have these ideas, they not only sell the mushrooms, but also the idea with it. To say, we're not producing any waste, we only produce on things that have been used before, our impact is nearly zero. So these are the stories that help you to get more. It sometimes takes more money or more time to invest, but it definitely pays back. You need to really care about those things.
Tuossa oli vähän vinkkejä siihen, että miten tämmöisen sieniyrittäjyyden tai elinkeinon voi saada paremmin kannattavaksi. Eli tuosta monipuolisuudesta tuli siellä esimerkinkin yhteydessä jo maininta, että varsinkin jos myy niitä paikallisilla markkinoilla suora myyntinä kuluttajille, niin kannattaa olla monipuolisesti erilaisia sieniä, niin sitten, koska eri ihmiset ovat kiinnostuneita eri sienistä tai sitten sama ihminen voi haluta vähän vaihtelua. Ja sitten toisaalta taas, jos on näitä perussyötäviä sieniä ja sen lisäksi sitten näitä lääkinnällisiä, niin on erilaisia tulonlähteitä. Ja sitten tosiaan se luova suhtautuminen siihen erilaisiin myyntikanaviin ja erilaisiin ansaintakeinoihin, niin kuin puhuttiin siellä aikaisemmin, esimerkiksi tosiaan niiden tukkien myymisenä sellaisenaan joidenkin ihmisten puutarhoihin, että siinä on erilaisia tulonmuodostusmahdollisuuksia. Ja sitten monipuolisuuden lisäksi toinen tärkeä asia on yhteistyö, eli tämä sienielinkeinotoiminta Suomessa on vielä sen verran pientä, että ei kannata ajatella, että kilpailija, vaan todellakin toinen sienten tuottaja on ehdottomasti hyvä yhteistyökumppani, joilta voi oppia lisää ja yhdessä sitten voi kehittää sitä toimintaa. Ja sitten yhteistyössä voi toimittaa myös isompia eriä. Esimerkiksi jos kauppaan toimittaa, niin saattaa olla, että haluaa isompana eränä ja yhden pienen toimittajan tuotantomäärä ei riitä, mutta sitten kun yhteistyössä tuotetaan, niin pystytään sitten toimittamaan paremmin. Ja sitten totta kai se, niin kun yksi on näkyvillä yksi tuottaja, niin toisaalta tällä hetkellä, kun tämä sienibisnes on sen verran pientä, niin kaikki näkyvyys on niin hyväksi, että sitten samalla se toinenkin, että semmoinen yhteisnäkyminen ja tämä koko alan näkyvyyden parantaminen. Ja sitten tuo tarina sen yrityksen ja sen tekemisen takana, mikä äsken tuli jo siinä Helsingin esimerkissä esille, että siellä on sitten tämmöinen, että se on luomua tai se on niin kuin kiertotaloutta, että käytetään niin kuin jäte- tai tämmöisiä poistomateriaaleja ja niin edelleen, niin silloin pystytään niistä pienistäkin eristä saamaan korkeampi tuotto ja korkeampi hinta myyntitilanteessa.
Helpful websites and other things you might want to have a look at. There's a lot out there. Very little information. You can go to, for example, the website Helsieni.fi and Gifts from Metsä.fi, where you find a lot of informations. Also, if I cannot get the video to run, you find there how to inoculate, for example, the logs. There is a PDF. If you type in on Google shiitake log PDF, this is the first result you will get. If this is too hard to type in. This is a really good paper. It's from America and from the East Coast about growing shiitake on logs. And there's all the information. It's not much. It's, I think, something like 30 or 40 pages, but there's everything you need to know. There's examples of profitability of a farm that has 100 logs or bigger farms that have 800 logs. There's tips and tricks that are really helpful. So it's a really good PDF. If you want to read something about this, this is really nice to check out. And there are books, there are a lot of them, but the so-called Bible of course not Bible, but the really important book from Paul Stamets, Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms. I have it back there, you can check it out. There's some other books as well you can have a look at. There's a lot written about mushrooms, and of course there is much more than you can do with mushrooms than just growing them at home or somewhere else.
Netistä löytyy paljon tietoa näistä sienistä. Ikävä kyllä aika vähän informaatiota suomeksi, mutta englanniksi löytyy valtavasti. Tuossa on nyt muutama esimerkki muiden yritysten nettisivut, mutta sitten toi linkki tuossa keskellä, tuo PDF, niin se on semmoinen 30-40 sivuinen tietopaketti, jossa on käytännössä kaikki tuosta siitakesienten kasvatuksesta noissa tukeissa. Ei ole kauhean pitkä ja erittäin hyvä perustietopaketti. Ja sitten tuo kirja, mikä on tuossa alhaalla mainittu, niin se on sellainen perusopus, joka liittyy sienten kasvatukseen. Se on tuolla takana, niin sitä voi katsoa siellä, että miltä se kirja näyttää. Mutta muutakin materiaalia on niin